Do you consider yourself a high achiever? Smart, driven, highly successful? I am so excited to have you. My name is Julia Arndt and I'm the host of the Stress Podcast. I will help you develop your stress resilience the same way you've developed your workplace superpowers. Learn peak performance tools to thrive at work and in your personal life. Let's get started. In today's video, I want to share a few tips with you on how to survive performance evaluations and employee reviews. I want to help you by giving you a couple of different tips on how to reduce that pressure, all these thoughts and all that stress that you might have on your mind right now and that you might be experiencing physically as well. I want to give you a couple of different tips on how to improve your self-assessment, how you can evaluate others, and of course, how you can set yourself up for success in the future. So let's get started. Hi, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Julia Arndt, and I'm a peak performance coach and stress management trainer. And I'm really excited to help you understand a little bit better today how you can survive performance evaluations and employee reviews. I know this is a really feared topic. I've totally been there as well. I worked for a tech company for 7.5 years, and I had multiple rounds of performance evaluations that I went through myself. And I know that it's a really, really stressful time where you feel a lot of pressure and where a lot of thoughts are on your mind. So in today's video, I really want to help you understand how you can move forward from this, how you can maybe better tackle this season or this performance review cycle in the future. So I want to focus with you on 3 different topics that I already mentioned to you in the intro. I want to talk with you a little bit about self-assessments. I want to talk about evaluating others, and I also want to talk about how you can set yourself up for success in the future. So let's start with the first topic about self-assessment. What is really important for you to remember is that when the performance evaluation time is coming up, the time and the effort that you have put in is already in the past. So everything that you have achieved up until that point is things that you cannot influence anymore. The only thing that you can now influence, obviously, is maybe to write a super good self-assessment and review about yourself in order to help your manager make a really strong case. But it is really important to remind yourself that the time has passed. You have already put all of the time and effort into your work, and your manager has probably already made up their mind about where you're standing. So hopefully you had multiple different conversations with your manager about your performance, not only at the end of the cycle, but throughout the process getting there. And I know that sometimes this is not easy. Sometimes managers are maybe not so open to share any reviews or any feedback or any performance evaluations ahead of time. And you need to always focus on the things that you can control instead of worrying and being frustrated about the things that you cannot control. And that is really, really important. So when we are talking about self-assessment, it is important to remember once again that you have already put all of the time and effort in. Now the only thing that you can do is to really write everything together, almost write a summary of all of your achievements that you have done over the last couple of months, and also to reflect on, hey, what would I actually like to develop? What would I like to work on in the future? This is a really powerful time to help you grow and to help you understand yourself. So self-assessments are a really powerful thing, and it is important that you take a little bit of time for that as well. Oftentimes we feel like we don't have time, right? Oftentimes this is a really stressful period because all of these things are just on our calendars on top of all of the other things that you have already to do for your work. So it is really important to manage your time. So if you are feeling like you're not managing your time really well at the moment, I would highly encourage you to sign up for my free 5-day time management course that's on my website. I'm mentioning it in these videos many, many times, but it is really, really helpful to manage your time because it is a big stressor. And if you can remove that by getting better at time management, then you can focus on the things that are really important for you in the moment because you have prioritized correctly. And then the other thing that you can do is to really set the right mindset. And I do have a video about mindset as well, because there's two different mindsets. There's the fixed mindset and there's the growth mindset. And maybe sometimes we are more on the fixed mindset instead of the growth mindset, reminding ourselves that we can always grow and that we can always learn from our challenges, instead of just seeing the things that are happening to us as a limit to our capabilities. So I would really highly encourage you to watch that video as well, because it is really, really powerful to understand that you have the control over the things that are important in your life, okay? What is really important as well is that you remind yourself that all of the work that you have done is in the past and you need to let go of the result. You have done your best, so focus on the input. You cannot really influence the output or the results, and you should be extremely proud of what you have achieved until this point. And you should remind yourself that during this period, you gave it your best, no matter what your best during that time looked like. No matter if you were a superstar and you performed amazingly well for 6 months, or maybe you had a lot of difficult things going on in your life during that period, a lot of personal issues maybe. Maybe you had a baby, or maybe somebody died in your family, or other life circumstances happened that influenced your work. And I know that you still gave it your best. At the time, you gave it your best. And that is a really important reminder. Remind yourself that you gave it your best, and that in the future, you will of course give it your best as well. And your best always depends on how you are in the moment, what other circumstances are present, and what you can do to still move forward, of course, in your work life as well. And one powerful exercise that you can do in order to reflect on what happened is also to ask yourself, how would you evaluate yourself? And it's important to be really, really honest with yourself, because oftentimes we have maybe a little bit of a skewed image. We compare ourselves to other people. We feel like we have really given it our best, and you have. I'm absolutely sure about that. But now, with a little bit of perspective, the question is, okay, if you have to be really honest with yourself and be really clear on your own expectations, how would you evaluate yourself? That's all I wanted to share about the self-evaluation process. So now let's move on to what can you do when you have to evaluate other people? And the very first thing that I think is really important to say is that you need to make sure that the feedback that you're giving to other people is constructive feedback. Obviously, especially when it comes to their areas of development, because we all have high expectations of ourselves. And of course, we all want other people to think the best of us, and we want all people to think that we are perfect. But when we are removing ourselves from that expectation to always be perfect and to always be the best person, we can have a much better life, because we are more in this growth mindset where we can remind ourselves that no matter if we have an obstacle or a challenge or something really difficult happened, if we had a problem, then we learned from that and we grew from that, even though maybe in the first time around it wasn't perfect, but you learned from that. And that's what you always should see these experiences for. And of course, this applies just as much to evaluating others as well. So, be gentle with them. Be really constructive. And when we are talking about constructive feedback, it is really, really important that you are bringing really specific examples, because the person that will receive that feedback will only really trust you when you really paid attention, and when you can bring a really specific example that makes the person think, oh wow, this person really actually paid attention. They have a really precise example of my work in order to help me grow. And this also reminds me to say, hey, if you are receiving feedback from somebody else, always take it and say thank you, and say, hey, thank you so much for this feedback, because for the other person, it is not easy to give you feedback either, right? Because we are all human beings and our egos can always be a little bit damaged when we are receiving feedback. So be gentle with the feedback that you're receiving, and be gentle, obviously, also with the feedback giver. And, especially when it comes to areas of development and evaluating others, I think it is really, really important to say here as well that feedback should never be a surprise. It should never be a surprise. So if you're watching this video right now and you're like, I evaluated somebody else, but I've never really told him this in person, do it now, because it is really important that it doesn't come as a surprise, or the person is maybe reading your performance evaluation or your feedback and they take it in a different way, because sometimes the way we are writing things and the way we are saying things can come across in a very different way. So it is really important that you make sure that the feedback is not a surprise, because if the feedback is a surprise, you didn't do your job. And if you are receiving feedback that you haven't been expecting, then the other person didn't do their job, okay? So it is really important that you are learning this. And even if you are thinking, oh, but there are other people that have never given me feedback beforehand either, then that is on them. That is their responsibility. But it doesn't mean that you are the same way. It still means that you should be taking care of what you can take care of, and to be a better human being and to be better than others. Because it's not about comparing ourselves to other people and say they didn't do that and they didn't do that, so why should I be doing this? Is because you are a better person, okay? So do yourself a favor and make sure that you are giving feedback ahead of time as well, so it doesn't come as a surprise. So that brings me to the last section that I want to talk with you today about, which is how can you set yourself up for success in the future? And it is really important that you are practicing self-awareness and that you are becoming better at that, because self-awareness and performance are really, really closely tied to each other. And if you want to learn more about how to develop self-awareness, make sure to check out the video on my channel on emotional intelligence, which is super, super powerful in order to help you perform better as well. So now that you're looking into the future, you should ask yourself, obviously, the question, what do I really want to achieve in the next 6 months or in the next 12 months? What is one area that is really important for me? Because people might tell you different things, and you should take all feedback with a thank you and be grateful for feedback, because feedback is a gift. And I know it sounds super cheesy, but that's really what it is. But you should be really clear as well on what is important for you. You should always find the balance between doing things that are important really for you and that really help you move in the direction where you want to take your career in. And of course, you should also look at the things that other people tell you to do and find a good balance between the two, okay? So be really clear on what are your goals, what are your areas of development for the next 6 to 12 months that align with your values, that align with where you want to go in your career, that align with your passions and with your interests, and keep that list really, really tiny. Maybe it's just one thing or two things that you want to focus on, because here's the next thing. If you're trying to focus on all different things at the same time, 5, 10 things, then you will never get there, or you will do a pretty crappy job because you're trying to focus your attention on too many things at the same time. So it is really, really important that you're being really clear with yourself, that you set goals. There's a lot of videos on setting goals on my YouTube channel as well, so make sure that you check these out as well. And yeah, that's all I wanted to share with you today. So I hope that, this video was a good reminder for you to sit back a little bit and to relax a little bit, because all of the work that has been evaluated has been done and has at this point been in the past. Now it's about writing a good self-assessment, of course, finding the time for that, being realistic with yourself and being realistic with others, and being a good person about how these performance evaluations pan out. It is a really powerful process. And if I can tell you one thing, it's that I really miss receiving feedback, because I worked in corporate for 7.5 years, and it was always a fear time. But now as an entrepreneur, I get really rarely feedback. And you realize that when you don't get feedback, you only get as good, because if you don't get any other input from other people, it will be really, really difficult to really develop yourself and grow. And so see the feedback as a gift and see this as a learning process. Apply the growth mindset, apply this progressive mindset of seeing this as a wonderful opportunity to get better and to develop amazing skills over the course of a lifetime. Because it's not about this 1 year or 2 years, it's about who you're going to become over the course of many years, okay? So I hope you found this video helpful. As I mentioned, there are so many different videos on my YouTube channel that will help you with these different questions as well, and that will help you develop peak performance tools to thrive at work and in your personal life. So today's audience question is, Are there any other questions that you have about performance evaluations? Any other topics that you find really, really scary and that I haven't addressed in this video? If yes, let me know. I would like to know about this. If you found this video helpful, give me a thumbs up. This really helps me, and I really hope to see you in the next video. So take care and see you soon. Bye.